Dave, they say that anybody who races in rally finds out at Sno Drift, Bonfire Alley, if they're prepared for the season. And that is exactly what we're going to dive into today. We are going to go down the history of Bonfire Alley, and we're going to talk about this race that you and I are going to be attending this year for the first time. I am going to be driving 12 hours with a car full of people, and Dave is going to be trying to fly out, and we're going to be at this event, and we are going to document essentially what is how to survive Bonfire Alley. I have been dying to put together a video for this, and I'm just excited to get the opportunity to go out there to this big event. And I think that I want to take today to go over the gravity of this race event and how long it's been around and the history behind it so that everybody can understand why I'm so excited to go out and go to this. You know, Ethan Hunter, who has been on the podcast multiple times, he has told us he's going to be racing this year. We are super excited to get out there and really see what's going on. He told us that he refused to attend the event unless he was behind the steering wheel. And I thought that that was such a great mentality to have, because this race in particular is so special. And I'm sure that being in the driver's seat is a totally different experience. And so you and I, being that we're not rally drivers, we're going to go experience the fan side of it. And I'm super stoked to do that with you, Dave. I think that we are going to have a great crew. We're going to have a great time. And I think that it's just going to be really great overall. So,
and like you said, we're going to be documenting a ton.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with an event like this, it's so complicated because there's racetracks all over like 3 to 4 towns. And so you have to know where to go, when to be there, where to post up, which roads to take, which roads not to take. Like, I'm going to be documenting this whole trip from the start process, driving and basically the road trip there, to surviving this whole event, to the road trip home. And I'm going to cut together a really cool video for you guys and make sure you guys have a cool view of what it's like. And if anybody does want to go, you'll know how to survive it. So, but to kick off today, what they call the ice and fire and backbone of American rally is Bonfire Alley. And it is the longest running winter rally in the United States and one of very few rallies that consistently runs on snow and ice over gravel. There's not a lot of races that do this anymore because of insurance, because of the implications of having people on the side of a track that's in snow and ice and all that.
Well, like you said, the consistency of the weather. It's hard to predict weather. I mean, famously, as Ethan's mentioned, look at Pikes Peak hill climb. It's unpredictable whether or not you're going to get a full race to the top because they might have to close it down because of, weather environments, and that's not a rally race, per se. But like you said, have consistency in, I guess it's location based a little bit too. It's so far north in Michigan, there's guaranteed going to be snow, I guess.
Yeah. And honestly, my opinion on it is I think that it's going to be the most fun getting to the race. I think that being that we're going to be in the Subaru, just ripping through the backwoods, getting to these checkpoints is going to be amazing. I think that like for a race that runs on ice and snow and is up in the top of Michigan, we are going to be exposed to some of the craziest, like, just weather. Honestly, that's what I'm expecting. Now, something about Bonfire Alley that you and I spoke to Ethan about, I don't know if you remember this. Unlike European winter rallies where you can use studded tires, Michigan does not allow studded tires to be used. And I forget if he said if it's a town law or state law, but because of Michigan law basically defines snow drift, because these rally drivers need to figure out how to tune their car and how to lock in a good lap time on a car that has no studded tires, but you're on ice and snow the whole time. I mean, there's pieces where you're probably going to be on gravel, but like this is one of those races. It's going to be insane. I'm excited to see how they handle it. And that's the thing too, is like I was saying before with the insurance and everything, you have all of these people lining this track with these conditions. Um, so, you know, the first point is that drivers can't rely on the studded tires to save mistakes. Everything is about throttle discipline, momentum, reading road polish and camber, basically making sure that you are taking the proper lines and using the right braking and throttle control. And it's going to just, somebody like Ethan, I feel like with being lower on the horsepower end of things, it may actually help him. I think that he'll have more control in an environment like this. So, they say that Sno Drift and Bonfire Alley has become the unofficial season opener because it's such a benchmark event that it is basically the point where every rally driver figures out if they're ready for the season or not. All of their winter preparation, the driver readiness comes out, car reliability under extreme conditions. And so, you don't win Snowdrift by being reckless. You win it by being precise and hitting all of the right points in this race. Now, Dave, being in Colorado, I'm sure that you have had some crazy weather conditions out there. So, what kind of advice, being that you've worked on these cars for so long, would you give to somebody who's just starting in their rally career driving on some roads like this and you don't have studded tires?
That's a good point. I think it really, there's twofold. I mean, starting with the tires themselves, I think there's really a maximization that has to be made when it comes to the tire compound that you use, because obviously the softer compounds are going to handle better with the cold comparative to, yeah, you don't want to go too soft. And like you said, there's those gravel sections where, yeah, too soft the compound could be ripping chunks out of your tire and not good. Also, the siping that you have in the, particularly, anyone who doesn't know, that's the grooving in the tires. That pattern really is going to change or dictate a lot. Also, I think it's kind of similar to, any race, whether it be, even not in the winter, but temperature is going to play an aspect there in terms of, the person that starts earlier in the day than later, may very well experience different track conditions. Sections may ice over, at certain times, temperatures also. I think there's a really big thing that goes into, and as we were talking earlier, is to Ethan's, benefit, I think, is that, or anyone rather, in a Subaru, is that Subaru all-wheel drive is just fantastic. I think, you're hard pressed to find another all-wheel drive system that handles so predictably. And I think what that does is that enables the driver to have a very, very strong level of control. If you look at, not a great highlight, but recently there's a viral video that's kind of made the rounds. It was actually judging on the location and some license plates and stuff that I pieced together from the video. It's pretty clearly it was in Colorado, but there was a instance of a kind of a road rage incident where an Outback, cuts around somebody, in a lane and goes to cut in front of them and basically winds up kind of losing it and goes all the way into the median, or the side of the road rather, miraculously saves it, in a very grand way. Again, not condoning the driver's actions of the video because they were very much reckless, but I think that video, my takeaway of seeing that was just a really strong testament to just that, the Subaru all-wheel drive system and how it maintained, gave that driver so much control to be able to maintain that car's course of action and to be able to get the car back under control and not have it,
It's funny you say that because it's no surprise that Subarus have dominated Snowdrift since it started in 1973. I think that
yeah,
the all-wheel drive system in Subarus, we heard it from Ethan that he's not the only Subaru running in this event, and he said most of them are.
I'm sure.
So, I think that it's a testament to Subaru. Travis Pastrana has actually run this before, and he raced at Snowdrift. I could show you here some pictures of that. This is from when Subaru went to Snowdrift. And let's see here. They just had a couple pictures of, here's the event with everybody attending, and there's the Subaru America, the ARA car
Mhm.
that Travis drives. And there's him ripping through the woods. So you can see the
Wow.
bonfires kicking up on either
What a
side.
great shot, dude.
Yep. And
What an
you can see
amazing shot.
how close these people are to the road. Like, they have these barriers, but not everybody follows them, which is kind of what led to some issues with this year. But you can see, this is just an amazing car. and you get to just see Travis ripping through the woods here. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see who shows up this year. I mean, look at this. This is all dirt and gravel and snow and just all mixed.
Yeah.
Just an amazing
Mixed
car.
terrain, man.
So, there's Travis there, and they had some, all their awards and stuff from this race, and just amazing. I think it's just such a like this is just iconic. I mean, everybody sees these pictures of the lighting of the fires on the cars as they drive by. It's just incredible. Dave, we're gonna be here. Look, they got drones. Amazing. This to me is insane because you can see just one piece of yellow tape is keeping these people back. Like, just crazy. I love it. So, for anybody listening, this is really the event that defines this because it's driving in the dark, it's driving in the daytime, it's the fires going, it's the people on the sidelines. Like, it really is just um a full weekend sort of thing. Now, I want to drive into the history a little bit here. So the early years of Snowdrift was 1973, during a period when American Stage Rally was regionally organized, lightly regulated, often volunteer driven. But rally was huge. I mean, you imagine in the 70s and the 80s, like that's when we saw people like Colin McRae really like owning the stage coming up into the 90s and in the early 2000s. So, rally was just getting its start in 1973 in this area. And so, like many early rallies, Snowdrift struggled with things like insurance availability, inconsistent sanctioning, limited local government understanding of rally, which makes sense. I'm sure that they fought for studded tires, but Michigan still doesn't care. So as a result, this event went through dormant periods where they just didn't hold it. They didn't have the staffing, they didn't have the insurance, they didn't have what they needed. And it didn't disappear because the people didn't love it. It disappeared because winter rallies are logistically difficult and hard to permit because there's a lot of danger involved. It's hard to consistently keep an event like that going.
Well, lots of logistics too.
That too, and not just that, like it's an unpaid event, like you show up and you go in the woods and you watch it happen. Like there is no tickets to Snowdrift. Like they sell things there, and you have the racers who are paying to race the event and things like that. But like there is no like big money pit of people coming to pay to go to this event. It's just you show
Sure.
up and you can go to the event. That's what's so crazy about it, to me at least.
And there's also a logistical challenge for the people that are coming to spectate, like we were discussing, where do you fly into? How do you get there? What vehicle are you going to take, to get to you don't have to have a rally car to, just to spectate, but you probably don't want to show up in a small little front wheel drive Mitsubishi, rental
Yeah.
car.
The thing that I'm the most excited to see about when we get there is I want to see the area because this is the kind of event that brings out the whole state. Like you got people all over northern Michigan that I'm sure are like, I'm gonna be at this event. It's free. You just have to drive there and show up. Like I'm sure people want to be there. And I think that I'm interested to see how many Subarus and how many people are invested in the racing and like just the area. I think it's like for me, right? Like you go from where I'm at in New Jersey, when I go to Colorado, there's Subarus everywhere. And there's a lot of people that love them and want to drive them and things like that. New Jersey's a little different. Like you don't see them as often as you do like when you go out west and places like that. So I'm interested to see how alive, Atlanta, Michigan is and the surrounding area, and just to get a vibe check, honestly, on the whole thing. Now in 1997, there was a rebirth, the restart of Snowdrift. The modern version of Snowdrift is, basically considered the 1997 restart. It coincided with more formal sanctioning structures, improved insurance models, a growing rally community that really wanted professional grade events. And it wasn't just a revival, it was a rebuild of what they already had, better route planning, clearer safety protocols, structured volunteer and marshal programs. And when people talk about Snowdrift now, they're almost always talking about post 1997 Snowdrift. It's when it became recognizable as a national level rally. So that's when people like Subaru and Travis get involved and like they start to see it as like a real event. Now, from what I've heard and what's been posted, after the events of last season where people were drunk and walking onto the stage mid event, people were crossing the road and going under the barriers and all of these things, fights breaking out, things like that. They have canceled the main stage from what I've heard. And so I'm interested to go this year, right? Because last year and every year prior is all of the years that it has been the way it's been, right? Like that's how they run it normally. And we're going to be going on a year that they are changing things because of how people have been. And they put out a notice saying that maybe taking a year off, everybody will calm down and they can come back to the event that they're used to and they can really rebuild on it. So I'm interested, and I'm sure you are too, Dave, that when we go out there, like I want to be able to see how the community takes that. Because again, like we're in 2025. I mean, it's going to be 26 by the time we get out there. And we're looking at it now. I mean, this is something that's been going on since 1973 and most recently 97 where it rebooted. These people are probably not going to love that the main stage is canceled and they can't go there. So I think that for me and you, like for what I was talking about making a video about surviving Bonfire Alley, I'm interested to see where the new routes are going to be, where all the people are going to be, like where everybody's going to set up camp and kind of move around and like because it's going to be different than every other year in the past. So, that's kind of an interesting setup that we're going to have to navigate while we're out there. But, you know, I'm sure that it'll be kind of easy and we're going to be relying heavily on our rally friends who are in the event. I'm going to be texting Ethan constantly and be like, where are you? Where do I go? We're going it's nice because they set up a whole guide too. They show the whole event and they basically have maps of where everything is and where we're going to have to be. So I'm pretty excited to get a feel for it. Have you ever been to Michigan? Are you used to driving there? Is this something that do you have any idea about where we're going, or are we both going to be in the blind here?
So I'm familiar with Michigan area. I've never been there, but actually know a couple people up there. So I'm definitely gonna have to reach out to some people and see if they might be going up there. Reach out to my fellow Subaru enthusiasts that I know up there and see if anyone's venturing up and wants to meet up and hang out and join the party. Like you said, I mean, it's the old classic. I think Boy Scout motto. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And as I told you, I'm going to be bringing all my battery powered heated clothing
Yeah.
as well as lots and lots and lots of layers.
Yep. Now, something else I wanted to touch on is we are going to Atlanta, Michigan. Now, Dave, I'm sure you're wondering how Atlanta, Michigan became the home of this event and how this all began. Um, Now, Atlanta is located in Montmorency County and became the rally's home because of a couple reasons here. A dense network of seasonal gravel roads, which is perfect. They already had the rally tracks basically built into the town. Low winter traffic, so there's not a whole ton of people that visit Atlanta, Michigan. I'm sure you and I can both attest to that, being that there's like no airport to even get in there. Roads that naturally ice over instead of being heavily salted. So that's the other thing is that all these roads are going to be snowed out. And so in the Subaru, we're going to really get to test out how this goes because we're going to be just. But the area also offers some other unique things that I didn't think about, which is lodges. They have like log cabins you can rent and things like that for big teams and media and things like that. Centralized access to multiple stage routes. So everything is kind of centralized around Atlanta. So it doesn't matter if you get anywhere you want to rent around Atlanta, you can find your way to the rally stage at some point. And then the town layout supports a rally headquarters in Atlanta and then networks out from there. So it's just
Okay.
it's just a little bit of like for the weekend, right? It's like a network of like city streets kind of for like rally
Yeah.
essentially.
Now I have to ask though, for anyone who's wondering and this is my first thought was because you talked about the original, rally when it first started, and this is
Mhm.
kind of the revival since '97. Was the original location in Atlanta as well?
So it was.
Okay.
Sno Drift has multiple events, but the original in 1973, it was a little bit smaller, and I think it was just the beginning of this event. They had a couple stages set up and whatever.
Mhm.
But like I said, in 1997 is when they had better routes and they created better, safer environment for
Got it. But it's
racers.
always been in Atlanta,
The
which is okay,
bonfire
that's
at
extra cool.
the Alley race has always been in Atlanta, Michigan. Because
Wow, that's really cool.
Sno Drift runs multiple rally events under the umbrella.
Yes, but no, okay, but it's always
Yeah,
been in that central area. That's really cool. It's not like, okay, it started down towards, like, Detroit or something.
yeah. Something that is unique about Atlanta, Michigan, and why I think your question about why it's here, I think that this answers a lot of it is it's just local buy-in. You know, Michigan didn't just allow this rally to happen and they didn't really want it, they embrace it. I think that like the local businesses quickly realize that their hotels fill up in the middle of winter, their restaurants stay open late. The rally brought tourism during an otherwise slow season.
Sure.
This area, what I found by looking at Airbnbs, every Airbnb is on a lake. It's a big lake community. There's all these really nice Airbnbs. I'm sure the summertime it brings a lot of people that go there for the lake
It's
environment.
probably ice fishing too, I'm sure.
Yeah, a couple things like that. But you know what I mean? Like this is their off season. So this big event drawing all these people, they're like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's get all these people in town. They're going to be in all the restaurants. It's going to be a big party for
Yeah.
the whole weekend. And so something that has happened over time is that these residents have become okay with the road closures. They know which roads are going to be closed during the weekend. The the safety marshals have figured out like what is necessary to keep the fires under control and to make sure that there's no incidences. And spectator management needs to be at it's already better, but it needs to be a little bit better. Something that I saw on that note was that in the post that they made about the event and how they're canceling the main stage, in the comments, I saw two things. It was either people saying, I am not going to this event this year, and they were really upset about it. But the majority of the comments were, thank God. Thank God we are not hosting the main event this year
Mm,
because people were saying, I was there last year. I saw a girl say that she got hit. Her car got hit on her way leaving the event by a bunch of drunk people. And like they were super mean to her. And so she didn't even want to interact with them. So she just left the event. I saw that there was drunk people crossing the road during the event. I saw that
mm.
people were saying that the fires were getting out of control and people just kept throwing stuff on the fires and then they would go to the next event and not put the fire out. There's just a lot of things that were happening. And the overall consensus that I got was that it's not a matter of when is something going to go wrong and cancel this event forever.
It's
It's
if.
like if, or the other way around.
Well,
It's not
if it's
if, it's
when.
when. You know,
Yeah.
they were saying that like eventually something is going to happen just because
Yeah.
of, again, I wasn't there last year. I don't know what actually went down. But when everybody in the community comes out and comments and says this needed to happen, then it probably needed to happen.
It sounds like the classic example of like, and this happens in a lot of community, or rather any community, where I think it's the few outliers, you know what I mean, that unfortunately have the biggest impact, in this kind of thing. That's ultimately already very, I guess, for lack of a better word, fragile in a sense. You know what I mean? It's like you have to be respectful of that. And I think that the majority of the people, it sounds like, truly are enthusiasts. They're truly passionate. It's why the organizers continue to want to put this event on, is because they know that there are people that really care about this event. And yeah, it's not about the party and having, a bonfire and getting out of control. That's not what the event is. It's, yeah, you're partying in the woods a bit. Yeah, sure. But you're there to watch the race. You're there to, be a part of a community and hang out with other community members and enjoy this event. And yeah, when people are getting out of control and like you mentioned, that girl that, got her car hit and just inexcusable type of behavior, is, I think, a large part of what the automotive community on a whole isn't part of. Or,
Yeah.
and so add that, like, yeah, in the same kind of vein that, yeah, there was a few people, is probably less than a dozen people last year that really, and it wasn't just a group of a dozen people. I'm not saying it was like, it was, you know, dozen or groups of people collectively this throughout like the event that, like I said, bring down the overall atmosphere. And I think that, yeah, if for better or for worse, they have to kind of dial things down a little bit. It's sad, but yeah, this is what happens. You know, they kind of have to control that narrative and make sure that people are there for the right reasons. And that was something that I really took away from, and we talked about a little bit before, was with PRI, you know, the same kind of event. It's like, wait a minute, why is it in the middle of Indianapolis in the week before, 2 weeks before Christmas, you know,
Yeah.
in the middle of a snowstorm? It's because the people that show up there are really passionate about networking and further growing their business and the community, and really connecting with people. And it's not just an all out party fest like it would be if it were, you know, in Miami. You know, everyone just, let's go to Miami and let's party.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
know, I think that the problem with any event is when it gets to the size that you start drawing people that they are coming from out of town with the wrong intentions, right? I see this event as wow, we're going to get to go see some really good drivers. We're going to get to see a really cool rally event. I'm excited to just attend and be able to document it and be part of it. Other people, I'm sure, see it as wow, there's a really big drinking party for 2 days. And
in
I
the
can't
woods
I
with
can't wait to
bonfires.
go drink in the woods for 2 days with some cars driving in the background. You know, like, I just
Mm,
you draw the wrong crowd and it starts to affect everything, you know?
yes. Yeah. Which, well, back in our Airbnb, we might have a couple drinks after, but that's, again, that's the time and the place, if you will.
Well,
You know what I mean? It's not, like you said, drunkenly stumbling across the track, man. You know, like
you
inexcusable
know,
behavior, like I said.
now, Dave, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm not gonna be drinking during this event,
Oh,
but
same. I'm not going to be stumbling across the track. None of us will. You know?
I think that for me, this event is gonna be really special. I'm excited to have a couple beers on the side of the road and just be able to witness this. And I think that
Enjoy
I'm gonna
yourself.
enjoy it. I think I'm gonna enjoy it the way that people have for years, the right way.
Mhm.
It's just it's annoying that this thing has kind of blown up into what it is.
Mhm.
You know, I get it. Like these event organizers want this race to keep happening, so they're taking the precaution now that they need to keep it going.
Mhm.
So
And
I don't
I
know.
support them full heartedly on that. You know, they have to make that decision because otherwise, like you said, the alternative is they just don't have the event. It gets out of control and then it gets shut down and that's it.
Yeah. Now, as far as the event goes, the most important part of the event is the drivers. You know, people like Ethan who are taking their time, they're getting their crew there, they're taking their equipment there, they're trying to really set, a standard on this stage. And talking about these drivers, something that Snow Drift exposes pretty quickly is if over driving happens, like if you are really just attacking these roads, you're gonna go into a couple off-road excursions. Smooth drivers are gonna gain time without the drama of going off the road and things like that.
Mhm.
But, with somebody like Ethan, right? Like he's kind of in that weird zone of like you're lower on the horsepower, so you really have to push the car, but you also don't want to overdo it and end up off the road like everybody else. So I'm curious to see how he's gonna battle that. Something that I read also is that the snowbanks look forgiving, but they're not. The snowbanks hide ditches, they hide rocks, they hide trees. You think that you're just gonna bounce off of a snowbank, and next thing you know, you're in the ditch. The conditions change constantly. Polished ice in the morning, rutted gravel underneath, loose snow pushing into braking zones. Like there's just the track is an animal that is constantly changing. So for us as spectators, that's great. We're going to get to see a lot of really good driving or a lot of really crappy driving. We're going to see what happens. But, these drivers have a lot to overcome with this. And I think it's really a testament to the time that they're putting into it and just what their skill level is at. Like you said, Subaru's all-wheel drive advantage really shines here, but it's only if it's used correctly. Historically, Subaru drivers who succeed at Sno Drift, they do so by maintaining their momentum, by avoiding wheel spin, and by treating the throttle as a precision tool. These people are really trying to nail this event. So, I'm excited to just see the outcome of this. I've never Let me put it this way. I've never been to a rally event. I don't have a lot to go off of in terms of expectations, but I think that just by speaking with Ethan and the reading that I've done so far, I think that this event is a really special one to be at. And I think that if we're going to do it right, this is the one to be at for a first event. I'm pretty stoked to see people in the worst conditions possible really excel. And I want to see how that comes out of it. Now, Dave, Bonfire Alley is very interesting. Bonfire Alley is the nickname given to the Saturday night stage. Started because spectators were just cold. They needed warmth. They started fires. And then next thing you know, everybody on that stage is driving through what looks like the pits of hell with flames shooting up left and right and people drinking all along the stage. So, over time, campfires became bonfires. Bonfires became defining visuals for the track. I mean, you saw it in the pictures I just showed before of like
It's a
you
spectacle.
you pull down the road and it's really just a special thing. I think that they've created something really unique. The main stage only runs at night and concentrates the spectators, creates dramatic lighting, amplifies sound and speed. It really is just amazing for the photos that come out of it and the video and everything else. I selfishly, I am hoping that we get to see, some sort of night racing with some sort of bonfires because it just wouldn't feel like Bonfire Alley if we don't get to see that. I think that even though they're canceling the main stage for people to like attend it, like the main stage race is happening, but people aren't allowed to go to it. I think that it would be upsetting to go all the way out there and not get to really get the full immersion of it. So I don't know. Maybe you and I will just have to start a bonfire. So
Yeah, I was
how
gonna
are
say
you?
I'll bring a propane fire ring if we need to.
Yeah, how's your Boy Scout skills? Are you up to date?
I won't lie. I'll cheat.
Uh, so as we've been talking, and I was saying, Bonfire Alley became a problem to manage. It's because it grew in fame. I mean, it's infamous really now. The crowd sizes increased, behavior became harder to control. It's a volunteer event. It's hard to contain people with volunteers. It's just the way it is. I think that if I was
Mhm.
volunteering for an event, I'd be like, listen, I am volunteering and my job is to keep people safe and, maintain the event. But like whatever's going on over here with this bonfire getting out of control, that's outside of my jurisdiction. Like that's for the safety marshals to get in and do their thing. Photos and videos circulated nationally, increasing the attention and scrutiny because videos have come out about this event and how it's gone. Spectator experience and driver safety and local government trust has all been tested. And I think that that's where we're hitting that road of like, maybe this is the year that they need to slow things down.
Or rather, it's a pivotal year for the community to stand up and show the local government, show the community, show the world that yeah, they can pull this event off without problems.
Yeah. This is
I think
one of
we the community owe it to them.
Yeah. The event became more about risk management than about rallying. And I think that it's one of those rare situations where the event is being threatened by being too successful. I think that they've drawn too many people, and in the middle of Michigan in the woods, you just can't contain people, especially across multiple towns. Like it's not just Atlanta, Michigan. Like these tracks spread through multiple towns in that area. And so for these like safety marshals and everything to be able to, these volunteers for them to really contain this, it must be really difficult. So, I think it's just going to be kind of one of those things that we're going to have to get a taste of it for ourselves. And, I'll just be standing behind a tree, I think, just hoping that whatever happens, it's not going to happen to me. So
Yeah.
some historical things that have come from this event, which I think is important to highlight because with an event like this, there's a lot of good that comes from it. 2007, Travis Pastrana, he won Sno Drift and helped elevate the event and the ARA. Subaru dominance has brought Subaru teams to the event. 2019, Peter Fitella, his win dominated and basically showed how patience and survival matter as much as speed. He's somebody who really just mastered the track in 2019 and showed that like you don't have to be the fastest guy. You don't have to have the best car. It's more about the driver and being able to understand your environment. 2020 and 2021, Strana returns and dominates, basically reinforces his win and kind of shows that he can aggressively attack a track like this and give people a real show while actually staying competitive, which I think was a really big win. And then recent years, there's just been more and more drivers coming out to continue the tradition. I think that, hey, listen, with events like this and with Subaru going the direction it is and the car community going the way it is, you look at like Slammed Enough, we've talked a lot about, and how the communities have changed around driving and racing and the drag strips are going away. I think it's so important to just like care for events like this and not let them burn out and not let them fall apart. It's like, because this is the future. Like if I ever want my kid to see a rally event, we need to cater to these things now the way they are and like really preserve them. So I mean, I'm going to be doing my part while we're out there to make sure that it stays alive. I want to document it. I want to make our video about this event and how to survive it and the things that we notice and what we think would make the event better, because I think that just by putting that information out, people will see it and it will make it a better event. I really wanted to just,
Maybe next
you
year,
know,
one or two more people go. That's the other thing too. Maybe they're inspired, to go and attend.
well, obviously the event gets a lot of attention and I want people to go, but I want people to see it for what it is. I want to be able to expose the fact that it's not just a drinking event. It's not just a party in the woods. Like there are real drivers putting their legacy on the line and like really trying to prove themselves and their car's ability on these tracks. And like by
100%.
by potentially ruining that, you're taking away opportunities from a lot of people that make a lot of sacrifices to be there. To kind of wrap it, I would say what Snowdrift kind of represents today is it's no longer just a rally, it's kind of a cultural phenomenon. There's people coming out to see it because it's unique. It's grassroots motorsports done right. It's community trust between organizers and residents, and a form of rallying that doesn't exist in many places anymore. I think that, like, as far as the future, it's going to depend on the spectators. It's going to depend on the continued local support, and it's going to depend on the respect of the event's limitations. I think that, like, these people need to understand that, like, you can't light massive bonfires in the woods because of it's a safety hazard. You can't wander drunkenly onto the stage. You like there's just things that you just can't do, or it's going to just ruin and sacrifice everything that's been built for years. And I think that, like, for me it's more of a PSA, but like I really want to go out there and really get a vibe of the event and how it's been run, and I'm excited to just be a part of it and really run it. I mean, I wish that you were in the car with me for the road trip, but I think that once you get out there with me, we're going to really get a taste of what's going on in Atlanta, Michigan. So,
Yeah. I still
at
got
the
to
end of
figure out logistics. There is a slight probable possibility that I may be able to logistically drive out. No guarantees though. In which case, we'll have two Subarus out there, and yeah, that could be some fun for some content too. That's what
yeah.
I'm thinking in the back of my mind.
Hey, I'm just like excited to get out there with you and be able to experience this together. Like
Same.
that's what community is about, man. Like I really like I want to meet some cool Subaru guys. I want to check out some rally builds. I want to see what they're working with. I want to be there in my own Subaru and be able to rip some of these back roads. I'm just
Same.
excited to be part of it and like really get out there. I just really, I don't know. I'm excited to see where this all goes. Have you ever been to a rally event, or do you have any experience with anything like this?
I have not. I've not been to a rally. I've been to, of course, the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, which I think the only experience that I have that is similar to this in the vein that famously, if you go to Pikes Peak Hill Climb, I always tell anyone for the first time as a spectator, be prepared for all 4 seasons. You will get sunburn, you'll get frozen, you'll get snow, hail, you'll get beautiful, nice weather, you'll get everything all in the course of a day. That's just the nature of Pikes Peak Mountain. The weather changes literally on a minute. That's not a cliche. It's literally a minute goes by and it was 70 degrees, and next thing you know, it's a hailstorm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that kind of conditions me a bit to, as I mentioned, let's put it this way, I'll be damned if I'm not the warmest person.
You know, Dave, something I wanted to run by you is I have a couple debate prompts for us, a couple things that I wanted to get your opinion on. So, Bonfire Alley, do you think that it's better? Do you think that Sno Drift as a corporation is better off for having Bonfire Alley as part of it? Or do you think that it actually is starting to detract and could possibly get the entire event, like everything, canceled? Because if you think about it, all it takes is one drunk guy getting hit by a rally car, and boom, Sno Drift is over all of them, not just Bonfire Alley. I think it's like,
That's a good question. I think there's direct correlation. Sure. I think that if something were to happen, it would definitely make everything else a harder sell. Surely. However, I have to take or put some stock into, as you were talking about, the economic impact that this event has on a region like this. That again, yeah, they have their tourism aspects. Like I said, I'm sure there's a large number. When I say large number, again, it's niche, to a sense, kind of like Subarus are, already in the car community, but it's kind of that same vein. But there's still a large number of people that show up to go ice fishing and do that kind of thing. But I think any community that is, that kind of rural, again, not to typecast them in any negative light. I think that any community that's that kind of rural would be foolish, simply put, to not want to do what they can reciprocatedly to try to support this event. So I think they want it. They want to have it as much as possible. And I think that they're working every bit hand in hand with the organizers of this event. And so I think that there would be a great deal of understanding. I think there is a great deal of understanding. I think that was probably, again, we'll never know the conversations, famously that happened, between the organizers and, the local government there.
yeah.
But I guarantee you, and I'm confident in saying this, guarantee that my opinion is that there was several conversations about this, directly, and how I'm sure. And that's the other thing, what you've read or heard and seen, on forums, Reddit, what have you. And while they're all accurate, true, valid, inflated, what have you, there's different gradients there. There's no question that doesn't just stay isolated to Bonfire. That trickles over into the town. That trickles over into, some of these, again, small percentage, but these individuals going into the community and starting problems at the local establishments, at the bar, whatever, And so that's why I think that, like you highlighted, you saw that one person comment like, oh, they got rid of the main stage, I'm never going back. It's like, good. It sounds like my takeaway is you were one of the 1% that we actually were trying to wean out. And if I hope that the organizers and the local community are conscious of that, or are able to see that kind of feedback openly, because like I said, I think we as an automotive community, not just Subarus, as a whole, I've long stood on this, that we need to stand together. And we need to speak out. We need to hold people accountable when we see something happening at a car meet that's not, okay. We need to speak up about it. And it's not okay, go over and punch the guy in the face. But, hey, man, this is the problem. We can't do this.
I actually think that the first thing that's coming to my mind is H2O.
Yeah.
I'm getting the thought, like that gut feeling that, like with H2O, right? It started small and then it built and then more people came and then it became infamous and then everybody had to
And
be
they never
there.
got control of it. They never got control of it, humbly. No offense.
And you know what? I'm sure that the town loved it. There's tons of people in town. They made a ton of money. I'm sure that it was great for everybody that was involved. But again, they couldn't contain the safety issues. They couldn't contain the people coming into town that didn't belong there. And I think that in a way it's a little bit different because with H2O, everybody's bringing their own car and they're all like just messing around. I think that with the rally event, it's just the danger is that these guys are driving at high speeds and the drunk people are right next to the road. And so I think that like they're really testing some boundaries with a bunch of people that are drinking a lot to stay warm in the middle of the woods and then seeing them be that close and like, dude, you saw the picture.
Yeah, no, you're right. And the way they're basically tasking everyone to say, look, we know you're automotive enthusiasts. You're out here to have a good time and enjoy the race. Please drink responsibly, as the old cliche goes. The problem is the grim reality is not everyone's able to do that,
And
sadly.
you saw the yellow police tape. That's what was holding people back at some of these stages. You think that the drunk guy isn't just gonna whoop right under it? Just again, I think that we're taking the inebriation side of it, saying that like people who are drinking are probably the problem. But I mean, a lot of it could just be people too that are just they've never been or they don't understand. They just go to walk across the stage mid drive. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's I don't want to blame it all on the drinking, but I think that like just the people that are coming out to this are part of the issue.
I guess the takeaway for me is we have to police each other. You know, we have to be responsible enough to say, hey, dude, maybe chill out a little bit, dude. You're getting kind of, tipsy turvy and look like you're about to fall into the track a little bit. Like, maybe go over there and sit down for a little bit.
Yeah.
Just make those
Now,
nice, I mean,
my
doesn't
my
always
other
work, but
yeah, I'm gonna say that we're gonna leave that topic on. It could go either way. I think that one bad incident could ruin it. I think that it's good for the town and the people that run it. So I don't know. But my next topic is: could a rally like Sno Drift Bonfire Alley even be approved today? Do you think that this is something that realistically could be approved in a town? I think with the modern
the right
liability
town, yes.
issues, I think that like this event has probably been kind of grandfathered in at this point. I think that like with the liability issues now, it would be kind of hard to approve something like this, but also with the right community and the right town behind it, like there's a chance.
That's another question I have as far as liability goes. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I feel like there's a expected liability release, whether it be, officially signing off. Like my heart tells me like it should be more on the guise of that you go to one of these events, you're openly drinking publicly, you're on the side of in the woods. You knew what you were doing. You go to this event. If you get hit by a car,
I
don't go
think
suing Travis Pastrana, because you got hit by him.
Well, I think that like this. Okay, so my first take is you can sue anybody for anything. It doesn't matter if you sign a waiver. I think that the problem becomes is that if you hit someone with your car, right? Does the guy who got hit, does he go after the driver? Does he go after Snowdrift? Does he go after the
Hmm.
town? Does he go after the state? Does he go at like I think that the liability comes down to it doesn't matter who he goes after. It's going to be months and months of lawyers and going through the battle of the process. I think that like they're doing everything they can to avoid that. And where this goes wrong, right, is that the locals of Atlanta, Michigan probably understand the risk and they probably wouldn't sue and they probably understand that this is what it is. But the people coming from out of town, right? That like let me put it this way, if you were a local, right, and you're let's say a local to Disneyland, right, and you go to Disneyland all the time, and something happens at Disneyland, right, you're probably going to be like, well, it's in my hometown, like it's not, this stuff happens. But if you're coming from out of town and you're visiting Disneyland once a year and something goes wrong and like whatever, I'm sure that you're going to be like at their throat. I feel like it's a little different when it's your hometown and you know the people like I think that what I'm trying to say is like if your friend, right, somebody you see all the time working there is the reason that something happened to you, you're probably not going to be as, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. I guess my other takeaway too is on the legal side where like our the last point, it's like I feel like there's just it's a 1% or less than 1%. I feel
Yeah.
like the majority of people like you and I go out there and heaven forbid if something were to happen, we're not going to try suing Ethan. Let's just say,
Ye-
forbid irony. We're not going to try suing, like Snowman, the town or Atlanta. You know what I mean? We're not going to. I think we absolve our own liability at risk when we as of what we're doing. I think, and again, that's just again my general understanding. Whether or not nowadays you can sue and you'd probably win whatever for anything, so be it. But if I went to a skate park and I did a backflip and I messed up and I cracked my head open, I'm not going to sue the skate park. I'm just not. That's just not in my.
but but you could though, is the problem.
Yeah,
And even though
sure.
you might
And I
not
guess
sue,
there's yes, but I guess my takeaway is that to that point though is I feel like the prevailing majority of individuals that are going to be attending this event as spectators are very passionate enthusiasts
yeah,
individuals. I mean, why else would you go stand in the middle of the snow? Like you said, yeah, it's a bonfire, party fest, blah blah blah, rave. But even if you threw a rave in the middle of the woods with a bonfire in the middle of winter, you're still gonna lose a lot of ravers that don't like the cold. Let's just put it that way, and whatever it may be, logistics, timing, work, you know what I mean? Like people have to make a commitment to come to this event. And so I think it really speaks to that. My gut, my hot take is that the vast majority, and again, we'll see that firsthand when we get there and we get the experience. But I think the vast majority, I'd like to believe, are passionate motorsport enthusiasts that are making commitments and sacrifices um, to go to this event, and they're not the first to sue. Again, worst case scenario, because again, I don't think there's cars crashing left and right on an ice skating rink,
yeah,
and flipping over, and that's the other aspect. Like you point out, not in a selfish way, but hey, yeah, maybe stand close to a tree. You can stand kind of the side of it. That way, if you have to step backwards, cool, the tree's got you.
yeah,
Probably a smart. And I think that's the testament to that environment that, yeah, I mean, there's not really a terribly big runoff straights where guys are going to be getting up to 100 miles an hour and losing it going straight off before a corner, into a bowling pin full of people. I just, you know what I mean? As we've heard, from Ethan and everyone, it's a slower kind of speed overall. Like they're not able to get, I mean, you can get up to faster speeds if you just want to, like I said, go straight to the corner and not turn.
yeah,
But no one's trying to do that. No one's trying to wreck their car. No one's trying to hurt themselves as the driver.
yeah,
So I think there's that equal preservational aspect for the vehicle and the driver themselves that, like, I mean, again, not saying they don't want to hit somebody either, but that's lower on their totem pole. But still, to say that they want to hit somebody or it's not on their priority list, it's like, yeah, no, they have other things that avoid them hitting somebody even in the first place, which is not crashing the car and not killing themselves, which
yeah.
kind of overlaps with hitting somebody too.
Yeah. Now, yeah, I agree with that. Now, my next point is, if Sno Drift, right? Let's just say this all blows up and they just can't stay in Atlanta, Michigan. Would it still be Bonfire Alley if they moved it? I feel like they would have to find a new town and then it would be a different setup. And then on top of that, like Bonfire Alley is so specific, right? It's a big media campaign where you get to see the pictures of the fires and and what town is gonna admit you and say, yeah, you can hold your event here, knowing that you couldn't keep your event in Atlanta because of the fires and the drunk people and everything going on. And
It's fair.
I think it's tough because if they were to move, right, the benefit would be you'd go somewhere that you can use snow tires, like the studded snow tires, and not have to battle state Michigan law. But then also, does that take away from the race? Does that
I think it does.
I think that it's like the problem is that you got to look at it in a certain way, right? Like this is what I would say. I'm a big hockey guy. The Arizona Coyotes didn't pay their rent on their rink. They had to play out of a college rink for a full NHL season. And then because they never paid their bills, right? They show up with all this money and the arena is like, we don't want your money because you don't pay your bills and you cause these problems and we are going to give it to somebody who has money and we don't want you here anymore.
Wow.
And so the Arizona Coyotes had to basically make a choice. They were either going to move the team or they were just going to dissolve. And so they ended up moving the whole team to Utah and became the Utah Mammoth. And so now Utah, right, is benefiting from this, but it's not the Arizona Coyotes anymore. It's a different team. It's not the same. And you know what? I'm sure that when Utah right, took them as a team. They were like, whoa, 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 listen, you guys couldn't pay your bills. You guys had to play out of a college arena. Like, you guys are having a really bad run, and
We got
we
some
are
ground
not,
rules here, guys.
yeah, like we're not super excited that you're coming here. Like, you guys are coming because you made issues,
You
you
need
know?
us
And I
more than
think
we
that,
need
like,
you.
that's kind of the mindset I'm in, is like, this is the Arizona Coyotes of rally races. And it's like, if they were to up and move to, Illinois or somewhere nearby, like, I would be like, whoa, 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 don't bring your problems here. Like, I know that you guys are having some issues, but, like, if you're gonna bring this event here, we need to set some ground rules.
No more drinking, no more fires, no more, you know what I mean? They would just put a kibosh on all of it.
And then it just
They would
takes
have to.
away the whole point of the event. It would just be like, it's not even the same thing.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
another topic I got here for you, Dave, is, do you think that Sno Drift is going to be harder for modern drivers rather than older generations? Do you think that, like, the more modern drivers rely too much on data and grip, and the older drivers learned by feel? So maybe they're a little bit more skilled on these streets? Or do you think that modern cars are faster and more complex and the margin for error is a lot smaller?
Hmm. That's a good question. I mean, we have obviously, and actually, I don't know this from a, a racing or specifically a rally rule or guideline standpoint, of whether or not different levels of traction control, how that plays into it. Because in theory, yeah, you could have some really slick computer controlled traction control system that just puts the power down perfectly. Just put your foot down to the floor. It will never let you spin. It'll never let in. Same thing with the brake. Just mash the brake all the time, and it will never lock up. You'll always be in control.
Well, you and I just saw Travis in a new WRX, so I'm sure, right, versus a 90s Impreza, like, there's a wide difference in the technology in these
A
cars
lot of
on
tech.
this track. So,
Sure, that's a good point. And so I think that it's going to be interesting to see, to say the least. I think that there's nuance there, sure, but there's also the crossover. Okay, do you have a older driver in a new car? Because Travis is, you know, newer, so to speak, on the scene, but he's an older driver. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, like whether it be professional rally driving, with
you know,
everyone's like, well, I know him from
he's
dirt bikes. It's like he's
yeah.
driven cars before, and
Travis is an interesting case because I think that he doesn't really count for me because Subaru really lets him build the cars the way that he wants. I think that, like,
on
you
point.
look at like the Huckster and the Baja that he just built, whatever the Gymkhana he just
Bradaroo.
did, the Bradaroo. You know, I think that they let him tune it and run it the way that he wants. So I think it's a little bit closer to what he would drive normally. I think that, like, we're talking about, let's say, Ethan, right? Like, Ethan's a younger guy. I think he's like mid-20s. Like, that's a guy who, like, probably drives more modern cars, and now he's getting in a 90s Impreza, and he's got to try to run that on a track like this. Now, mind you, he has a racing pedigree. He's been in Camaros up Pikes Peak. He's been, in this
Yeah, sure.
Subaru racing, rally. I think that, like, he's kind of a bad example of that. But I think that there's a lot of young guys who are probably getting in these older cars just trying to get into rally. And we're gonna see how they handle not having all of the niceties of the new cars.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's an interesting take. I think you're definitely right. It's tough to dissect though fully because I think, as I said, there's just so much nuance there to it. I think that that's one of the reasons we all love this thing called motorsport. There's a competitive nature of there's the man, there's the machine, uh, there's so many variables there.
Yeah.
That's motorsport, man. That's, like I said, that's part of the variable of motorsport. It's not just the driving, it's the vehicle, it's the maintenance, it's everything that goes into it. It's the culmination. I think that's what really has grown to excite me about every facet of motorsport, whether it be rally racing or NASCAR or drag racing, which are all uniquely different, but they all carry a same philosophy or, let's call it blueprint that Yeah, you got to maintain the thing. Yeah, you got to, double check, triple check, quadruple check sometimes. There's a lot of work that goes into this. And guess what? Even when you do everything right, just happens.
Yeah.
The industry famous saying, it just happens where you can do everything right and your engine just blows up. Cool. Back to the drawing board. Let's spend another $50,000 and build an engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
racing,
know,
I would say, is or motorsports not for the faint of heart. Let's put it that way.
I think what we haven't really talked about is just these guys are out here in the streets of Michigan in the snow and they have to fix these cars, you know? There's things that go wrong. Like we talked to Ethan about the things that have gone wrong with him and having to run out and get O2 sensors on the spot and like, on a Sunday, the only parts store that's open and like, the car's running like crap and you have to get off the stage and it's like it's interesting how you say that like we look up to like F1 pit crews, but like, I'm sure a lot of local mechanics look up to these guys in Michigan and just what they're doing and like the problems that they have to fix on the spot. I think it's just going to be insane to kind of watch this all
I'm going to rip my
unfold.
wiper hose off and use it for a vacuum line for my fuel pressure regulator. Ingenuity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Piece of
Um,
hose.
Do you think, looking at all of this and what's going on, I kind of want to close this out here, but do you think, as a final topic for you, that Bonfire Alley was a mistake and that Snow Drift would be better without it? Because I think, in my opinion, that I don't think it would. I think that these events need the draw, right? They need something that separates them from the rest. They need something special about them. Something that is like community driven that gets people excited to go. Look at us. I didn't even know that Snowdrift existed before meeting Ethan and talking with him about his rally and his career that he's building. I didn't know that Bonfire Alley was even a thing. And I think that, like, in the excitement that he brought to this one stage, I was sold on it because I didn't even think about
Same.
what other stages Snowdrift has. But you know what? I'm sure that after going to this, I'm going to be looking at what other stages Snowdrift has in the other events because this is the one that gets you into it. This is the one that gets you there. Every
It's the
event
gateway drug.
needs something to get you there. And I think that like it's just the amusement of it. It's a spectacle. Everybody talks about like nobody talks about the rally event they went to in Minnesota. And yeah, I just saw a couple drivers in the woods. Like people talk about like I went to Bonfire Alley and I was at this massive bonfire seeing Travis Pastrana rip by at 100 miles an hour. Like just being in the woods and seeing a line of bonfires, like having a whole
Yeah.
community come out and embrace it. Like you just can't replicate it. You can't create it. You just it's something that is naturally built. It's naturally grown. And I feel like they have that. And so now my take is that the organizers, this falls 100% on them at this point. They need to protect the drivers. They need to protect the bystanders. They need to really step in and make this event solid. And they need to preserve Bonfire Alley so that they can run it as they normally have. Because if they don't, they're either going to lose their one draw or they're going to have issues down the road. So
Yeah.
I think that that's a good place to leave it, but I don't want to beat the horse to death. I just think that like I'm excited with that asterisk. I'm excited
Yeah.
because I can't wait to get out there. I can't wait to get a feel of the community. I can't wait to see the event. It's
Same.
just it's gonna be different than every year before. And I think that like we're not gonna get the true authentic experience, but we are gonna be there on the first year that it changes in history. I think that Snowdrift this year is gonna define the future and where it goes. And I think
I
that you and
agree.
I are going to be here for that. And so I think that what would be interesting is if we go this year, right? We document it, we see how everything goes. And then if they don't do the main stage, like they said, right? Next year when we go, it may be reopened and we may get to experience it two different ways. So hey, I'm open to it. let me put it this way. I have no expectations. I'm going with the expectation that we're going to meet some cool people. We're going to see some great drivers and we're going to have a
And we're
great
gonna
time.
have fun.
Exactly. So if you guys are excited, definitely hang in there and keep an eye out.
Or we're gonna
And
be out there. Let us know
or
down
if
in the
you're going to come
comments. Like,
out, let us know. You
we'll
can
hang
definitely
out with you.
come party at the Airbnb. We are just excited to be able to do this because of you guys. This is because our podcast is worth making a 12-hour drive. Like Dave and I want to document this and make some content for you guys, and we're excited to keep moving on this. So definitely check us out. We're going to be there February. Let me get the exact dates. The event is February 6th and 7th in Atlanta, Michigan. There is no entry fee or anything. As long as you can get there and you have somewhere to stay, you can just go to the track on the days that the races are happening. Sno Drift posts up a whole guide and itinerary with like everything going on, maps of everything. That's what we're going to be using to kind of get around. And we're going to get there on Wednesday the 4th. I'm going to be driving that whole day. It's going to be like 12 hours. Thursday, we're going to be exploring, figuring out the town, where to go. We'll be documenting all that for you guys so that you guys can kind of do this if you ever want to in the future. 6th and 7th is racing all day. Sunday the 8th, I'm assuming that we'll be hungover, and then we'll just kind of take it from there. That's the plan, and we appreciate you guys hanging in there, and we will definitely be showing you guys what went down on this trip. So
Yes.
Dave, we got about a month until this happens, so we better start prepping, and I'm going to be buying all the heated clothes that you own.
Yes.
So I have to say, closing out this year, this is kind of going to be like our Christmas episode. Merry Christmas, guys. Happy New Year. We appreciate all of
Yes.
you. I believe we're 32 episodes in with this one, and Super Mechanics Facebook group hitting 300,000 has been insane. The feedback from you guys on the podcast has been insane. Our last episode did really well. You guys are all loving it and checking out the content. So I'm just really excited to keep moving on this and show you guys what Dave and I can do for you. So definitely check us out in this new year. We're going to be super consistent. We have a new editor. It's going to be amazing. So we really hope that you guys stick around, and we'll be posting weekly, and we will see you later.